I'd like to call to order the Village of Woodstock Board of Trustees on February 11th at 6:30 p.m. First order of business. Any additions or deletions to the posted agenda?
Yeah, I'd like to add the Woodstock snowboard team permits to the agenda. You have a copy of it. And then to delete the parking meter flag holders conversation. The chair was kind of running that with her absent today. It feels better to wait till next month.
Okay. Very good. Any others? Hearing none. Are there any citizens' comments on any matter that is not on our agenda?
Hi, Jeffrey, and
Yes.
everybody there. If anybody has any questions about any of the permits or anything in your packet, just let me know. I'll be listening along. But it should be self-explanatory. But if you have any questions, just reach out. I'm here on Zoom if need be.
Thank you, Kitty.
Yep.
Appreciate that. All right. Hearing no comments, let's go on to our report, starting with our manager's report. Eric.
Yeah. So a few things for those of you who are in the room tonight. We've been doing a lot of maintenance at town halls. We're painting downstairs at Pentangle for the reopening, and then we'll start painting up here. So just appreciate everyone's understanding as we're kind of moving some things along, but it's starting to look much better. Again, I want to thank the Public Works crew. It seems that every storm falls on a weekend or a holiday. So we had, again, this past weekend, expecting another big storm on Sunday of a long weekend. I don't think they've had a holiday off this whole winter. They're understaffed. So I just want to thank them for all the work they've done over the last few months, keeping us as clean as possible. The select board is getting closer and closer to a final agreement with the Woodstock Aqueduct Company to have a closing. We're still looking at the end of March to finalize that and take ownership of the water systems at that point. The bond bank approved the bonds that got approved on December 10th. So we have the financing. So just kind of crossing the final T's and dotting the I's, and we should be able to start with that hopefully next week or so. Finally, after some being short-staffed, Plan and Zoning Office is fully staffed. We're up and running. Emily Collins and Molly Maxim are in the office now. Molly's been with us now for 2 months. Emily is just hitting a month right now. Young, fresh ideas, really working hard. So we're very excited to have them on board.
That's great.
Thank you.
Any questions for Eric? I do have one, Eric. It wasn't part of anything you said, but the speed sign just past the elementary school, which
Yes.
has been working for a while, snow covered. Can we get someone to see if we can get that operating?
Yep.
Thank you. All right. Let's move on to the financial report.
Yeah, so just two quick things to highlight here. Unfortunately, as I said last month, or so was in month, salaries are not included in the financial report under expenses as we transition to the payroll software. That just not something that has been come across yet. We're hoping to have done in the next week or so. So you're looking at the budget for your missing salaries from November 13th onward. So that's kind of where that the number comes from. And then in the inverse, under police revenue, about $50,000 of more revenue is not included in this finance report, just because we haven't reconciled in 7 months. So instead of the 589, you're probably looking at something closer to about 440 in revenue under the police.
Question? I have a couple. One, just, I don't recall seeing this. Under real estate tax revenue, we've got a line for in lieu of taxes.
Yeah.
And then underneath that, land use, hold harmless, $700 each. I don't recall those.
Recall them in what sense?
Sense of what revenue does those set represent? I
can look into what it will be. I mean, payment of taxes is usually a nonprofit that pays us money instead of paying taxes. So sometimes churches, nonprofits will do that. Sometimes it's state property will do that as well. And then hold harmless is land that's being conserved. to that revenue too. I'll check to see.
So we budget for that, but just even though we don't.
Yeah, we should be getting it if we budget for it, but I'll look into it and have an answer for you.
Thank you. The other question I have is on page 9. Building maintenance. Police section and propane and electricity, that we budgeted $22.50 and $2,000. Those two items is absolutely zero, which is odd.
Yeah, so I think traditionally the fire department has paid the majority of the utilities in that building since the building is town owned. And then usually we do some transfer to kind of offset that at the end of the year.
Okay, so that is being paid to some extent, but not.
Yeah, the fire department pays the entire bill each month.
Okay. Answers my 2 questions. Are there any other questions on expenses this month? No. Hearing none, let's move along. Okay, we're coming up with 2 permits at this point. The first one up would be Girl Scout Troop 60419 and wanting a sidewalk permit. Sell Girl Scout cookies in front of the village butcher. Is there anyone here to speak to that? Or anyone online to speak to that?
Amy, are you there?
Yes, I am. Sorry, I'll turn on my video. Here I am. Great, thank you. I am representing Troop 06419, and we're requesting to do 3 cookie booths outside of the village butcher, as we've done in the past, to help support our cookie sales, which helps fund our troop for the year and keeps our entry costs low for all the girls who participate.
Okay, so are there any changes from the previous years?
No changes. We would have a 6-foot table in front of the butcher. Alex covers us under his COI, which he did bring to the town hall, and we have insurance coverage through the Girl Scouts of America that covers all of our troop activities as well. The hours would be 10:30 to 2:30 with up to 3 girls per 3 hours, and it's parent chaperoned.
Okay, and do you list the calories?
We can. I suggest you don't look at that and you just enjoy it.
Okay, all right. I think that's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
Are there any questions from the trustees on this? Okay, I'll entertain a permit. I mean, a motion
Make a motion for the Girl Scout cookies
as.
as presented in their application.
Is there a
Second.
Second, okay, any discussion? No, okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, thank you so much. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next
We'll
up
hope to
is
see you there.
you will. Next up is Veterans Day Parade. And who is speaking to that?
I believe Mr. Ford.
Oh, Mr. Ford. Jim, why don't you step up
Come on up.
to the podium right there?
Actually, it's the Memorial Day Parade and the Veterans Day Parade.
Yeah, we have 2 separate permits here.
Yes.
But tell us how they are in any way different from what we've seen for so many years.
They are exactly the same.
Holy
Start at the same time, the Memorial Day Parade, I think 10:30 in front of the elementary school.
Mhm.
It goes down Route 4 to the Legion, and then to Triborough Park, and then down Pleasant Street back to the courthouse. And the Labor Day Parade, is much shorter, just from the Legion to the courthouse and back.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm supposed to ask this question of everyone. I don't do the Girl Scouts, but you need officer assistance, correct?
Yes, we do.
Okay, do you know how much you need?
They've always provided it and done very well.
Yeah, I didn't know if you knew offhand. Is it an hour? Hour and a half?
The Memorial Day Parade starts at 10:30, and I think it goes to, a little past 11.
Okay,
And the other one is much shorter.
Okay, so you're talking less than an hour for both. Oh.
The Memorial Day probably is a little longer.
All right, so I have to ask this even though we haven't made a decision, and have you ever paid for officers in the past?
No.
Okay, are there any other questions for Jim? I don't see why we can't do both permits here. For these two.
Thank you.
We have the fees entered for both of them.
You paid the fee.
I didn't pay a fee. I don't know that I ever have.
I don't think you.
Okay, permit, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we don't need a fee for this.
Yeah,
I did provide insurance coverage.
Yeah.
The COI is here. Okay, so that's covered. All right, are there any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion. For the two, for
I-
the Veterans Day Parade permit and the Memorial Day Parade permit.
I make a motion that we accept the two permits for the Memorial Day Parade and the Veterans Day Parade
As
as presented.
Thanks.
I second.
second, please. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Next, we have the Proudy Ultra. Proudy? Kitty, have we got everything in order for that?
Yes. We have
Supposed to
every,
be here.
they said that they were going to be on Zoom, but I don't see them on here. But we have everything that we need, and I believe from years past, I looked at the permit from years past, and it's the same. Everything is the same from the year previous. They filled out a permit for the town in the village, which they didn't need to fill out two, which is fine. So you'll see two permits there, one for the town, one for the village, because they go into both, but it's your permit for the village is the only one that is prevalent for this situation.
Everything okay there, Kitty?
What?
Hugo can tell.
It's nothing.
Sorry, the kids are in the background. I apologize.
No, that's okay. It was entertaining.
So we still do need to ask that question of them. Do they, the questions? Have you paid for officers in the past and how much have you paid for the Woodstock Police? That's our one question to them.
But
Would you like me to email and ask them that question?
Yes,
yeah,
I'll do that.
I mean, a lot of these people do pay, so, but I just wanted to double check about Woodstock.
but regardless of that, the permit isn't dependent upon that at this point. Right?
No, we just have to ask that question to get a response. So, but we don't have to, we can pass the permit, right, Eric? And just ask
Yeah.
that question later?
Yeah, or if you want a pending, if they have to pay, I mean, it looks like 3 hours. We may want to make sure that if you want them to pay for the details, that's part of the motion.
Okay, if we're all in agreement, let's do that with that proviso.
So I make a motion that, the no, we're not in cover bridges,
Proudy.
sorry.
Proudy.
The Proudy, great. The Proudy ultimate permit be accepted with the exception, or we're waiting for the discussion around police? Is that how we would word it?
Under the condition that police coverage is provided as in the past.
Okay. Under the discussion as the police. As in the past, how's that?
We'll hope Kitty clean up the minutes.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Brenda. Or any other discussion on the Proudy, which looks to be the same as it has been in the past?
Right.
Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as made, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, next up, the Covered Bridge Half Marathon permit. Here to speak to that.
I see somebody up there in the.
Oh, yeah, yeah, with a nice logo too. All right, so I couldn't see any changes. Can you tell me if there are any changes from last year?
Nope, there are no changes. And to answer the question, we always pay police detail, Woodstock and also the Windsor County Sheriffs.
Thank you.
Thank you for answering.
Can you, the only question I have is, do you know approximately how long you're through Woodstock and the village is like 3 hours?
I think it's actually less than that because it starts at Saskadina 6 at 8:15, and Woodstock is like mile 3 to 5-ish. So the actual village, I think, is usually done and cleaned up by 10 a.m. So I would say 2 hours, and then it sort of moves on to River Road and into Queechee.
Okay, any other questions regarding the Covered Bridge Half Marathon permit? Hearing none. Entertain a motion.
Come on, Frank, make the motion.
All right, I'd like to make a motion for the application of the Covered Bridges Marathon as presented.
Second,
Second.
any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on, the Woodstock Union High School banner permit. Anyone speaking to that? This is to put up the photos of the graduates around the village green, as has been done in the past. The reading through the application, it seems to be exactly as it has been in the past. So I'm okay without having someone present.
And, Kitty, are you still there?
Yes,
Are they okay? Because that's going to be during Pride weekend, right? So are they okay with?
yes, I've confirmed with Pride, and also I believe there's one other banner. I believe it would be the Garden Club. That's going to be at the same time. But I've also confirmed with them, and they are fine with having the graduate banners up at the same time. They actually filled out a use of green permit, which is the one in front of you, even though it's just banners. But it's the same as every other year previous. So it's everything is exactly the same. Nothing's changed.
Thank you.
Yep.
And these go along the rail surrounding the green. So it's all the same as in the past. So are there any questions from anyone on the board?
No.
Okay, well, I entertain a motion for the banner permit.
I make a motion that the Woodstock Union High School banner permit be accepted as written.
Second,
Second.
Brenda. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, banner permit goes forward. The final permit tonight is the snowboard team. Sierra.
on. She's up there on.
Okay, Sierra's up there.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about this, Sierra, what you'd like to do.
So I'm one of the members of the Woodstock snowboard team, and we are hoping to just raise some fundraising for our sport because we realize that not a lot of people know about snowboarding and that Woodstock has a snowboard program. So we went around to local businesses to ask if they would be willing to donate items for our raffle. And we were hoping to host our raffle on the green to help raise money for our program.
How many items did you end up gathering?
We have about 7 items, some of which are just gift cards, but also some are like physical items.
Great. How's your team doing?
We're doing pretty good. We've only had like 3 competitions so far. We've had lots of people place in women's and men's sports. So
Great, good for you. That's wonderful.
So we do need to discuss, she's asking for the green, but she should be going to the gore.
Doesn't have to.
There's a higher fee if you're on the green.
Yeah, okay. You get-
But I believe there might be also I'm looking now to make sure there's a variance that you can also vote to get rid of.
Well, have you considered being on the Gore, which is in front of the library, basically, that side instead of on the village green?
I was honestly not told that that was an option. I thought that you guys handled all of that.
You have the option. One is less expensive, as Lisa
Okay.
said, than the other. Also,
Okay.
this time of year, you might do better at the Gore.
Yeah.
Because of the sidewalk and traffic coming from the Woodstock Inn and people walking by to go to the library and so forth. Not as many people are going onto the green.
Okay.
That's up to you.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I would probably consider going to the Gore then.
Yeah, I think it would be better. I think you'd get more traffic.
Okay.
I do too. So if you'd like to modify your permit to ask it to be on the Gore, we can consider that tonight.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Mm-mm.
Okay. And Kitty, is everything else in order for this?
Yes, I have the C of O from the Mountain View Supervisory Union. So that because they're part of the Woodstock High School, they should that C of O that I already have should cover them. And yeah, everything else is good.
Okay. So I'd entertain a motion for the Woodstock Union High School snowboard team. Or to make that motion.
I'll make a motion that the Woodstock High School snowboard team has their raffle on the Gore.
Second.
Okay, any other questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Good luck. I hope that you sell everything at good prices.
All right. Thank you.
And good luck on the mountain.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, so that's that. Now we get to village meeting day warning.
Yes, well, you have to sign it by the end of this week, yeah.
Do that at the end.
Yeah, as long as the board's okay with the warning as presented.
I haven't seen the one.
It's in the,
It's in there.
it was emailed.
I was fine with it, the warning as presented.
I've never seen this.
It's just, people in the audience, it's the normal, election, the compensation for elected officials. The budget, which was voted on, about a month ago. $3,000 for village beautification, and then $400 each for, trustee of public funds. And then, to audit the public funds as well.
So we just have to sign it.
I'd ask if you could just vote to approve the warning. That might be, just so we have it on the record, and then we can sign it before you all leave.
All right, well, I'll make that motion to approve the warning as presented in our packet.
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The warning is approved. All right,
And if I just, the village warning will be, once it's signed, will be on the website. There's already a certain page for it. And one of the board members, Elise, has expressed some interest in doing public forums out in the community, talk about the budget. So we'll try to schedule that as well for the trustees.
okay. Moving along. Under discussions, updating village permits.
Sorry, Wendy, do you have a question?
Oh, sorry.
We're all here for that. You're all here for that?
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Let's
I don't
do
have a
the
problem.
conservancy presentation next.
You don't want to hear me go on and on about parking tickets?
Do you want me up there?
Yes, no, yes, if you'd be,
gonna do a Zoom presentation.
Yep, I'm gonna give you access. to-
okay.
I don't know if you're on the Zoom anymore.
Yeah, I'll try it again. An unknown error has occurred. So.
find Stuart's message.
What? Is it really?
I'm curious what you're gonna walk next. You can stay.
It would have been the,
You don't have to go home, you know?
and the police update for parking. It was so exciting. Incredibly exciting.
Never have this many
Stay for it.
letter meetings, ever.
Okay, I've lost.
Happy to see
But
you
once in a
here.
great while.
I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of you in the future.
Second Tuesday of every month.
Okay, I'm waiting.
You'll be able to sleep while you're here.
Okay, you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay, and I have not turned on my audio. Sorry, I'm trying to find which. My thing is. Now I'm nervous, so it's like,
Maybe we should do some of the others while you're looking.
oh, here we go, found it.
She'll get it. She'll get it.
Yay, I did it.
Good job, Wendy.
Someone want to get the lights? Someone want to get the lights back there?
All right, great.
Easier to see.
We did it. All right. Well, thank you for having us. We've been speaking to a lot of people around town, including many of you as individuals, but we felt it was really important before we went much further to get an official recognition of our work and hopefully acceptance of what we're doing so that we know that we're going down the right path. So the goals for tonight's meeting are to gain support from you for the work that we're doing for our group and our plans for our first major project to restore the village green and improve the safety of the village quarter around it. And as part of this, we want to clarify your authority and our authority and the responsibilities and how we're going to work together. So we'll first cover who we are and our work to date, and then our plan and your role, and then we'll have some questions and discussion. So just who we are a group of citizens who formed last summer and joined the Woodstock Community Trust portfolio. And they, as you may know, are a 501c3 umbrella organizations with a number of projects underneath them, including East End Park, Ottauquechee River Trail, the Hub, Local Deeds, etc. And so it just enables us to focus on our mission, and they handle all of the back office support, if you will. We formed a leadership team during the fall, and everyone is here, which is amazing. This is a great group, we think, because we represent people who've lived here for a long time, as well as newcomers, and everybody has an interest in an aspect of what the Conservancy is trying to do. So our mission is to enhance and maintain the public spaces and connectors in the village of Woodstock, and I'll describe what all of that means in a sec. So basically, we believe that public spaces are economic drivers for community engagement and tourism, and the condition of these spaces communicates competency, commitment, and values. So if we think of our village in 15, 20 years, long down the road, after we've managed to do everything we want to do, we want to imagine that we have intentionally designed, sustainable and well-kept public spaces connected by safe and accessible pathways that residents will use, appreciate, and support, and visitors will explore and enjoy. So we feel that because we are the birthplace of the environmental movement, we have an active community and we are a popular tourist destination. We want to have a village that's safe, accessible, and environmentally responsible. But we recognize that the municipality has insufficient resources to adequately maintain or improve these assets. The public spaces have lost or lack intentionality, and pedestrians and bicyclists don't feel as safe navigating the traffic as they should. There are insufficient places in the village for pedestrians to sit and rest, and parking is not efficiently allocated. So as a team of residents committed to support the municipality, we want to focus on intentional design, environmental sustainability, accessibility, and maintenance of these public spaces and pathways at minimal or no additional cost to the town. We're basing our work on the Green Streets framework, which is developed by the Vermont Urban and Community Forestry Program. And basically, it rests on this idea that if we protect our environmental resources through community engagement, we will raise our property values and tax revenues and encourage further public and private investments in beautification and stewardship. So this is a lot of words, and I want to go through them slowly because I think they're important. Basically, the Green Streets framework has these three pillars of placemaking, mobility, and stormwater infrastructure. So placemaking is just the planning, designing, and management of our vibrant places, leveraging our natural resources. And this emphasizes health, economic vitality, and the quality of life, and encourages the appreciation of history and culture, and encourages the investment, again, of maintenance and enhancement of these spaces. Mobility, green mobility is just that idea that we've been hearing about for decades now. Safe access for pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorists of all ages and abilities. So we want amenities such as benches, lighting, and attractive vegetation and shade trees to encourage everyone to be able to walk, gather, and talk. We want to lower vehicle speed so that we can reduce collisions and increase the number and types of cyclists who are willing to use the streets. What we find, what businesses have found, is that when you have more people walking around and biking around, their businesses actually improve, and security increases too because there's more traffic. Green stormwater infrastructure is just this idea of increasing the amount of permeable surfaces. If we have plants and soil, they can, at the point of precipitation, intercept, hold, slow down, and treat the water instead of having the water flow off the impermeable surfaces right into the sewer and into our rivers. So this also results in enhanced urban landscape, better ecosystem health, and it helps to mitigate and adapt to the changing climate and the flooding that we have. We wouldn't have as much flooding. So we can't stop that, but we can build resiliency. So these are the placemaking opportunities in the village that's circled in red. And we like to think of ourselves as the emerald bracelet, kind of like Boston has the emerald necklace, if you've ever been there, parks along the river. And this idea that this is a linkage, these are green spaces, and we want people to appreciate all of them individually, but also understand how they connect with each other. So what would the Conservancy do? We see ourselves as collaborators, funders, and implementers. We would work with you and other community stakeholders to develop priorities, lead the design and planning, and leverage resources. We would set and manage the budgets, seek funding for the projects and the annual operating costs from grants, private philanthropy, with a limited or no increase in use of public funds. That's our goal. We want to oversee research and contracts, coordinate manpower, and report regularly to our partners and to you. So what have we done to date? We have been doing a lot of community outreach, meeting with groups and individuals, establishing partnerships with these groups and individuals, and exploring different kinds of projects that we could pursue. We've secured seed funding to help us get going. We've been researching local, regional, and federal grants, and we are about to embark on a private philanthropy campaign to see if there is appetite out there. We recognize that what we want to do is a very grand vision, and at any time there could be some resistance or obstacles or barriers, and we feel like we have the patience to try to overcome each of those barriers, but recognize that it may not end up being the path that we, ideally want. We feel like if we have 100 ideas and we can get 10 of them done, that will be a great success. So we understand that there are issues. Implementation would be the researching of different concepts for the park and reporting back to you. So who do we think of as our principal stakeholders? Well, there's the different departments of the municipality, the town and the village, the schools, public safety and DPW, and then there's TRORC, which is not really our municipality, but it's sort of a local government entity. And then there are nonprofits who are already managing some of our parks and places, like the Rec Center for Vale Field, Friends of Faulkner Park, the History Center, East End Park. And then there are the abutters, the residents and local businesses, including the inn. And then we think of secondary stakeholders as the users of these spaces. So Bookstock, the Chamber, Pentangle Arts, and then adjacent nonprofits. These are other park managers who have an interest in what we're doing because they also believe in the importance of public spaces. And then supporters who just want to make the community a better place. So the little green check marks just are an indication that we've spoken to members or even the entire groups of these. And we're trying to consistently report back periodically so that they know what we're doing. We want to keep them in the loop. So the group has decided that the green is going to be our first major project. Both the green itself as well as the perimeter traffic flow. And we recognize that nothing is simple. Everything is connected. So if we want to improve access to the green, it means addressing the issues of the streets. And that means the issues of the streets all the way throughout the village. So why the green? Well, we think it's an iconic destination, but it lacks intentionality. The original park design has been lost. The furnishings lack cohesion and aren't well maintained. The usage of the space is uneven. It's not sustainably managed. The trees, the lawns, and paths have suffered from insufficient maintenance, and the machinery is noisy and polluting. And it's not as accessible as I mentioned. Its connection to the other green spaces is under-leveraged, and it's unsafe for cars, bikes, and pedestrians. So a brief history. It was granted to the town by Israel Richardson in 1788 and then made into the park that we know today in the 1820s. So that's 200 years ago. It's sort of an exciting idea that we are in the bicentennial year. In the 1870s, the iron fence was installed. Then there was a hurricane in 1938, Dutch elm disease in the 70s. And then in 2022, Route 4 was restriped to 2 lanes around the green. So the picture on the upper right is when it was a veritable forest. The picture at the lower left is what happened after the hurricane of 1938. So today, maybe it's ironic, but today the lack of trees gives us space so we can have some enjoyable community events like Bookstock or the Market on the Green. So this is obviously something that we like, but when we move forward in thinking about how we want the green to be, we just want to be intentional about what we want to keep and what we want to change. So the condition is really something that we are concerned about. Replanting has been undermined by insufficient watering. There's been a lack of aeration, so there's compaction and pooling. The level is actually a couple of inches below the street. The iron fence is rusted, has lead paint, and has become untrue. The Rotary painted it in 2022, but this is the sort of example of ad hoc maintenance that occurs. And then, as I said before, the furnishings lack intentional design and are poorly maintained. So in a sense, the restoration of the green is one project that we can think of as a discrete element that we want to pursue. And given that you are the managers of the green, we feel like it's important that you support what we're doing, or we get your feedback so that if there's something that you don't like about what we're doing, we can talk about it and shift directions. But we believe that it's a priority for you, and so hopefully this is something that we agree on and can work together. And what we're offering, because we know you're really busy and have no resources, is to provide the money and the manpower to do that. The second piece is the village quarter, and I'm going to have Mike talk about that part, and then lead into a conversation about how we might work together.
What's the village quarter?
Yes.
Corridor.
Corridor, thank you.
Okay, R's are hard. Okay, cool. So, yeah, just about every time I'm going to come talk to you guys, I'm going to probably come talk to you about our need for bike lanes in almost like any form and way I can. You know, I'm a father with two little ones. One's bike was hit by a car last fall in our parking lot. Somebody coming into our parking lot thinking they were pulling into the East End Park. And it just shows that, like, granted, it was in my driveway. There wasn't a lot of damage done, you know, but there's a lot of, that's a very big example for me to say, you know, we need more signs, we need more things out there so people can be walking and commuting through Woodstock more safely. So, you know, thinking about the green first, the green is a major corridor where we have different things coming in. We have people that are coming into the village from west of town. We have people going to and from the elementary school. We have all of the commerce hub happening on the other side of the green. Yet when you ride up into it on a bicycle, specifically on my bike ride to the elementary school every single morning with Colby, what I notice is people come to Route 4 there where they're headed east and they want to head back west, and so they look because it's a one-lane traffic, and so they make sure that nobody's coming and they pull right out. Well, there's a crosswalk that's actually after the stop sign for the turn there by about 15 feet. It's terribly designed because the traffic person or the person driving the car never looks at the crosswalk before they start moving, right? And so we just have all these examples where there's lack of signage or understanding of where to put sidewalks, how people are going to be using these things. And it really comes back to something Wendy said, just like moving forward with a lot more intention with how we're thinking about our infrastructure and how people are going to be using it. It's kind of funny, you get to the Tassville, right past the Tassville Bridge, and it says like scenic bike route, right? Like, I mean, like maybe if you want to have a beautiful funeral, I couldn't imagine like biking from Tassville. I know people who do it every single day that work here in the village, but the biking from Tassville to town along Route 4 there couldn't be any more unsafe in my mind, right? We have maybe 5-6 inches between the shoulder and the solid white line. And other than that scenic bike ride sign, there's no signs for watch out for cyclists. There's nothing on the pavement showing that there could be cyclists on the road. And I'm not saying just needing a bike line, but you see this all the time in compact cities where it says share the road, cyclists here as well. Something that we really want to consider. And then also thinking about different ways that we can use parking. Because I think we can park a lot more cars and manage our busier times of the season better with our current lack of parking challenges, even though I'm one of the ones who believe that we only really have lack of parking challenge for about 10 days out of the year. And the rest of the time, we have probably too much parking in downtown Woodstock. But I still think we can be much more intentional with our parking and how we're getting cars, whether that's parking parallel along the green rather than, or perpendicular rather than parallel or other examples. When do you want me to go through this one too? Yeah. So intentional design, again, talking about, you know, these are kind of questions that we want to go over with you guys and be thinking through. As I've said, you know, we want to start with the green. Which elements of the green do we want to keep? I think we can all agree that the access and openness to the green, we got to hear several great local groups asking for their permits to use it today. But I think there's other ways that we can improve on that access and make it accessible to more people from a safety perspective, but also just from an intentional design. So looking at what new ideas do we have? What are some new things that, you know, now that you guys seen our presentation, you're going to walk out tonight and you're going to look at it and you're going to say, damn, I didn't know there was all those trees there once upon a time. Like, what are other ways that we can imagine the green looking like and being there for us? What problems do we want to have resolved? So maybe, you know, I shared some of my lived experience. You guys have lived here a lot longer than I have, so maybe you have other examples or other ways that the green has been a challenge or has been, what I always love hearing is 8 years ago, we used to do this on the green or this, with intention in town, but maybe we've lost that over time, or it's something that, whoever was carrying that banner or volunteering for that effort no longer does it. And so how can we get back to some of those good ideas that we once had? And then, talking with you guys about a little bit about, what's the capacity and how both ways, obviously you said this is the most people that you've had come to one of the meetings in a bit. We've got some capacity and a lot of energy and love for this space, right? Like that's what's the one thing that's bringing us all here, is that we all really want to support it. And so how can we lend that capacity in a way that isn't obnoxious, quite frankly, to you guys, and also is directed and can be kind of moving in the same direction and take on something a little bit bigger than we think we might be able to, but with your support, hopefully we can. Okay. Yeah, you want to take on the...
Okay, so basically, what we're saying here is that there are many things that we want to do that we can't do without your support. So, but we want to make life easy for you. So what we propose is that we would explore all the possibilities, explore how to restore the green, in the designs, how to finance it, and you would participate in whatever, to whatever degree you were interested. I know Lisa said she was very interested, for example. So, as much as you want to be involved, be involved. There are some things that we need your help for. If we want to work with TRORC or VTrans, I don't think we're allowed to or is supposed to do it just on our own. It has to be through the town.
Yeah.
And so, in that case, if we have to write a grant and you sign it, that's fine. We'll do all the legwork. But we need you ultimately to sign on the dotted line. We'll do all the analysis and propose plans of action if you have the wherewithal to review and provide feedback and then, authorize. And then we'll provide reports, as many reports as you want to read. We can provide them. And then, it's just up to you to stay abreast of the progress. So this is just a sort of, this is just sort of a fantasy timeline saying that it takes several years for us to, restore the green, do some studies. We'll maintain it in perpetuity. And, we have a lot of different projects that we want to pursue. So for tonight, we basically have two simple requests. One is to get your general support for what we're doing. And the second is to approve and support our plans to explore and pursue steps to restore and improve the green. Did I mess that up?
No.
And the second thing is to undertake audits to assess the current safety of the village quarter that Mike talked about. And Mike is going to be leading that.
And 2 sentences on what that, we want to sit and count how many cyclists, what's their traffic pattern, how many pedestrians, what's their traffic pattern, how we see cars operating safely or not safely, and do that probably in a couple of different season iterations over the next year, just to better understand the current use and how the general public uses and or doesn't use the green.
So those are the goals for tonight's meeting. And then if you agree to that, then our next steps would be to review either, in one-on-one meetings or whatever, the process that we would want to work with you for this project. And we would want you to designate us with the authority to seek funding and mobilize manpower to implement these plans. And then we could draft an MOU of memo of understanding to work together and who's going to be responsible for what. So that would be the next steps if you feel like we're kind of right now on the right path.
So I have one thing I think you're missing here. It's just a recommendation. You haven't talked to the public.
That's right, because we're not going to talk to the public unless we know that we have your support.
And that's where for me, it's difficult because I don't know what the public wants.
And we don't know.
And the citizens, we work for the citizens here. And so I don't want to say, okay, let's move forward and then have 20 people say to me, what, are you nuts? So it seems to me that maybe even if you do some simple public.
Well, we've already talked to dozens of groups I can go back and show you all the different groups
Yeah.
we talked to. So that is the public. We have,
Well, I think that you have to, I'm saying have a public forum.
that's what this is. This is our first public forum
Right.
where we are hopefully going to be officially on the record as being a group that is recognized by you, and that our plan is recognized by you, and that it's a plan that you approve of. If we don't have your backing, then there's really no point in doing anything with the public space. So before we even go to the public, we want to make sure that we are endorsed by you. We haven't come up with a proposal yet for anything, except that we are going to do the work and find the money and hopefully make things happen. We don't know what those things are. And to be honest, we don't even know if we have the money. But we can't go out and ask for money unless we have the town's support. So it's a little bit of a,
Well, we love this village as much as you do. And we'd be crazy if we didn't want to support what you presented tonight.
Right.
Absolutely. It's absolutely wonderful that you've all gotten together to start this process. And I would like to suggest that this board support your goals and what you and that we then we'll move forward to how we're going to work together, as you said. But tonight, I think we should all.
I want to hear from Eric because he's the manager.
Well, we're not. Oh, okay.
Because
It's
I
fine
feel
that we're
like
from
if-
Eric, but I'm talking about the board, right?
Right, but I'm not at that point yet.
Okay, then you don't have to support it.
Right, but I think Eric should have input here because he's responsible for the management of all this space.
No,
Or the
actually-
town manager.
actually- well,
So it's not, I'm sorry, I understand what you're saying.
If I could speak up, I guess my question is, are you looking for just the trustees to say, we like this idea, we want you to pursue it further? Or are you saying you want like a full hard endorsement of everything? I think that's like the two. Because one is like great idea, like go look for more thing, go talk to the public, come back and go further. That's a simple, I think, yes or no. If it's a more like, we want this to be X project or something, that's probably a more in-depth conversation.
right, this is what we think we want to do next. And we still have to test a number of things. Test the municipal level of support. So after you, we need to go talk to the select board as well. We need to talk to potential donors to see, is there money out there? It could be that there's no money and then, but that's it, or we're going to change our tack, or instead of renovating the green, we're going to just get new tables, So a lot of it is that this is all something that is incremental, and like I indicated with the timeline, it could take 10 years, it could take 20 years. We don't know how long it could take. And we don't know exactly what's going to actually end up being delivered. But like I said, if we have 100 things that we want to do today and we get 10 of them done, that's still an improvement. And we're just going to see which one of those things we can afford, which are allowed, which are appreciated by the public. But right now we don't have a plan to show the public because we're not going to spend money to create a plan if you guys fundamentally don't want us to.
So I think you've been really clear about what you're presenting tonight.
Right.
And I suggest that we support your endeavor. The specifics are not what we're voting on or saying yes or no to any one item that you're doing, but your endeavor is fantastic and it would benefit the community. And I think that this board should support it on that basis and urge you to go forward.
I'm going to speak again. I want to make sure that we have the guardrails that the town and the village needs. So, I mean, for example, it's wonderful to hear about bikes, but Route 4 is the state. And it's wonderful to hear about the parking, but we have parking issues as it is. So I'm just saying there are things that I think are farther out.
Oh, for
I
sure.
mean, Route 4 is just, there's nothing, I mean.
That's the 10-year, the 20-year
Yeah,
outlook.
and so I'm just saying that
I think that I understand what you're saying. I think that they do too.
Yeah, they totally get it.
I know, I'm
Okay.
just,
They have a process. This is where it starts. The process starts
Yeah.
here.
And they're
So they
looking
can't go
for-
any
Go to-
They
further.
can't go anywhere.
to them.
They're not gonna, if the municipality's not gonna
Talk.
support the,
let me talk.
okay.
I just want to make sure that Eric, as the town manager, is comfortable in the process as much as us, and that he has the ability to have management into this because, or whoever he appoints, because there are issues that could come forward. I know this is the beginning of it, and I'm gonna be fine with the beginning of it, but I want to make sure that the process doesn't get ahead of ourselves. Because sometimes I see things get steamrolled in here in this village. I've lived here for 38 years, and I've seen steamrolls happen. And people get going on something, and all of a sudden, the people who are supposed to manage it lose control. And I mean, for example, the Woodstock Union Arena, that was supposed to be paid in perpetuity. There's no money, so now the school district has to pick it up. So that was something that was supposed to be maintained and cared for. It didn't. Remember that? And so I just want to make sure we, as you move forward, we're really looking at, I don't want to lose, I don't want to get steamrolled, is what I'm saying. And so I'm sure you hear what I'm saying, that, you know, I represent the people of the village, and I want to make sure that we do this process. And that's, I'm not against it. I'm just saying I've seen stuff happen before that. You've been here a while, you know. And so I just want to make sure that we follow that process in a way that everyone stays in control.
Understood.
So I'm fine, but that's my thing.
Word I'm suggesting we give tonight, in no way contradicts your people's
Yeah,
concerns.
I just want everyone to know that we really got to not let it.
And then, and Joe.
Joe, please.
Yeah.
Point.
I think Linda's.
Lisa,
Sorry, her concerns about it should be respected. And completely understanding. Given the scope of the proposed project. I think what we're asking for is not approval of the project, just an approval of.
you know that.
Understanding of the whole idea of, you know, what we're reaching for here. Maybe one of the things maybe consider is, okay, the idea sounds great. This is what we want from you next. What we can go on. from next. Yeah, nobody knows what that is. But you might have an idea of what it might be. To satisfy your folks.
Well, the next thing that you come up with that requires an absolute approval of any sort, a municipality.
But the
We want to,
concept,
we
I
want
think what we're asking for is just the whole. The
approval
concept.
of the concept, right? And I think given what you've said, Lisa, what you've gotten off your chest.
No,
Right.
I am making a point, getting it off my chest.
Well, that's what I meant by that.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Wendy does have a, sorry,
Any other questions?
Wendy has a question online.
I just had one other thing
Yeah.
that, you know, one way that this support could get manifested is an easy first step and talk about people getting steamrolled. You guys have been told the steamroller is coming, so you can't get steamrolled. But one person that or people I'm worried about is the people that do manage the spaces and, you know, deal with it day to day, or, you know, maybe talking to them about, hey, look, people are trying to pool resources, invest in. There's nobody who knows that grass better than the person whose job it is to cut it.
Chris Barr.
And so if we can sit and chat with them, I think that would be one group that I think we could really get a lot of strong input about how it's currently being cared for, because I'm even a little bit wishy-washy of saying it's great. You guys are doing the best you can with the resources and the people that you have. That's not what we're trying to say. What we're trying to say is what could, you know, happen with more, and maybe picking their brain or talking to them. That couldn't come from us. That would have to come from you guys through Eric to, you know, have that discussion.
So Eric can arrange that kind of discussion.
Absolutely.
Started a.
Well, yeah, I mean, all of those details make sense. I think we should move forward and just say that we support your endeavor moving forward, and that we will work out details as you proceed. Does anyone disagree with that? Can support what they presented tonight?
I can say yes, I support, but I think
Great.
that
Then let's leave it at that.
So Wendy does have her hand raised on the line.
Okay,
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Jeff. I wanted to add a comment on the point of intersection that was just referenced in terms of talking to the town employees, and I wanted to say I share some of Lisa's concerns moving forward. But you guys know I believe in community volunteer work and engagement. So I am not opposed, but I do think it gets tricky when the interface with town employees on town budget go into this direction of of brainstorming and planning. I think it'd be confusing for employees. I want to speak cautiously on that interface. It gets tricky. And that's where I would support concern for Eric's, and the employees in terms of how does this play out long run for them.
Well, that interface would run through Eric.
Yeah.
So not concerned about that, but your point's well taken, that,
Okay, great. Thank
has to be handled carefully.
Right. Thank you. Yeah.
But so, to end this part of the evening, I think you have the support of this board in your volunteerism with this concept and to improve our village and starting out with the village green.
Yep.
Cool.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
So
Linda?
I have one more question is what's next for you to report and how do you want to do that on a regular basis?
Right. So one of the things we need to do is probably outside of a public meeting like this, just to have a conversation with Seton or someone else about your role and what we need to sign off on or whatever. And Mike, you want to talk about the audits or?
Yeah, we're going to start doing the audits. I think, as not cycling happy infrastructure is right now, being the middle of February, we're going to start planning for it. We're going to be talking with Wamba and folks hopefully or at the high school have already reached out to us. There's a lot of interest in making a bike lane go out to the high school, which just seems so obvious as a place to potentially be thinking and starting. And so, yeah.
So basically their TRORC could do, we can work with them to do audits. We have AARP audits that we could do on our own. So if we have your endorsement, we'll probably investigate TRORC as well and see which one we can work with. And all of this is just to kind of confirm our lived experience and say, in fact, here's the data. And so we know that the street thing is a long-term project. We know V-Tran has to be involved. It's all why we're starting sooner than later, because we know it's going to take a long time. And then in the meantime, we're going to be working on green, and with your endorsement and the select board's endorsement, we can then start to test the philanthropic waters. And again, if we don't have the money, we won't do as much, we'll just do as much as we can afford. We do intend to raise money for an endowment for maintenance. So, all of these other examples are we call it warnings?
Cautionary.
Yes, cautionary tales. Thank you. We know about East End Park and Tiva's Landing, and we understand what can go wrong, and we're hoping to avoid that.
Great. Anyone else have anything else to say on this topic for tonight?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Parking. It's exciting.
Thank you. Thank you so much for what you've done
Thank
so
you.
far, and we look forward to what you're trying to bring to us.
I'm happy to.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Need to be down there. Tell me about that.
I know.
Well, of course, and I think that
It was one of, it was, I forget what we were all.
one of the things I want to make sure. Of course, it was. But
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
have a great night. I am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.
I know.
Yeah.
Look,
All right.
everybody left with
Yeah,
Kitty.
what time-
Oh, I know now what that agenda item is,
Got it.
that we talked
See
about,
that?
the updating, that's not parking. but
Absolutely.
Seaton's not here. And
Mhm.
that's the ones about changing the cost of the permits. And she's not here. This is this one. She's kind of spearheaded this.
Yep, so we're gonna put that off till next month. So the next thing we discuss is updating village permits, and that's really just working internally as on this.
Yeah, so I tried the old administrator's name is on the permits, updating that, and then Kitty's also looking at some of the town permits don't have a fee associated with them, and most of the villages do, to try and make sure those. So there's a lot of internal work that we're working on.
And also, yeah.
Okay,
And now we'll get into the boring.
ordinance, and thank you, Lisa, for all the work you've done investigating this, as well as Kitty.
Yes, Kitty is my savior. I have to say that the records around here, I had to go into that scary closet in back, and that's kind of interesting back there. But things are kind of moved around. So what I started doing for instruction from Eric is I started with the latest minutes. I've been going backwards, looking for anything that talks about parking. So was it done in the ordinance? Did it repeal something? So I'm coming through, and then I'm also finding certain pieces like resolution 2A and looking at this, that there's pieces in here separate from the actual, like the comment about whether or not we use bags still, and the comment about under general provisions, what was the one? I had one that was underlined. There was another one in here which I looked at in the minutes. It is that marked on the green, it was a kind of a verbal agreement that we don't charge for parking, and do we want to change that? Because it's a verbal agreement only. So this is really a bunch of pieces of information kind of as we work towards what we want to do. But I can say this really needs to get cleaned up, and I think we can clean it up very easily, but I'm still working on finding everything. And I don't want to make the mistake, like history, 2018 amendment to the 2016 compilation establishes. So I want to make sure all this wording is correct before we move forward and say, let's skinny this down, let's get this right. And I want to get it right, because I think we can do that easily once we have, and I have more information to get. I know I'm still walking my way through a lot of this. And I just have to keep working through it. You know, and there's another thing that I had a talk with Chris about. We have certain parking meters that we spend more money on replacing batteries. What's going on with those meters? Are those meters costing us more in batteries? Is it the amount of light we have? Should we be looking at meters individually as part of this whole process we're doing, and putting regular coin meters in where the solar meters don't work? So we have a bunch of issues that on top of the parking, it's like a parking combination. It's everything to do with parking. So I kind of think that I'm on my way, but there's some stuff in here that I'm not even sure you want anymore in here. So once I get all the information from you, somebody can start to mark up the new ordinance, correct?
Yes, and there's two things. One is just based on my limited research. I have not done as much as Lisa has, so thank you, Lisa. There is just, it doesn't make sense. I think with the parking ordinance, it's the first part references getting rid of all the other ordinances and appendixes, and then on page like 5, it then references appendix for a fee. And it's like, but the first paragraph made it null and void. So how does that? So going through the ordinance, actually cleaning it up so the ordinance makes sense, and then voted on it again, either as is or with new changes the board agrees with. So it kind of, we fix it once and for all. And so going forward, we have an ordinance actually, we all understand and understand the purpose of it. And then when changes need to be made, we know what we're changing and how that's going to impact everything. I think we voted twice already on a parking ordinance because we just didn't know what to do because of the appendixes.
Right, and then we have appendixes, and we have to decide if we want to clean those up, how we want to sort those out? Do we have one? Do we have a couple based on what the different options are?
And potentially moving all the fees to a schedule of fees, so then you could change the fees without having to open up the ordinance again.
And I was reading this one part here, which is the authority to remove vehicles. And there's things where they have to receive it in writing if they're going to move it. And I'm thinking, what? And so do we want to do that, or do we just want to let people tow a car? So that's kind of another one.
And our booting fees is only $20.
Right. Well, that's the other thing is the violation fees, which I have in here, are really low. You know, so, right. Right. It says a warning letter to the registered owner of a motor vehicle that has accumulated 4 unpaid tickets explaining when the vehicle includes 5, it'll be subject to immobilized with a mechanical device. And that's section 8336, immobilization and impound of motor vehicles. We've never followed that. I don't believe. So what does that mean? And, you know, do we need to redo that? Because we never sent a letter. And I know there's a lot of people out there who have more than 5 tickets,
I think we have booted in the past.
but not according to the way the regulation says, because they have to receive a letter. And the last booting that happened, there was no letter, no nothing. So do we want to make sure that this gets followed? And then also the fees are in here. Do we want to move the fees of this kind of booting off to an appendix rather than so we don't have to change the parking fees all the time? So it's kind of a circular thing. I'm going to be hearing these words in my head pretty soon.
Okay, so obviously you're willing to continue this work
Yes, I am willing.
to make a presentation of changes that you're recommending in a cleaner form. And thank you for doing all that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of this just doesn't make any sense, or we're not following it.
Mhm.
You know, what do we want to do about, you know, impounding a vehicle? How do we want to do that? You know, how do we want to, you know, do we start towing? I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff, even the simple stuff like when to close the streets at night. You know, which streets stay open, you know, for parking? Are they all reasonable and acceptable? The spot, so those kinds of things. Is 24 hours enough for someone to stay in a parking space before they have to move, or should it be 48? So kind of, you follow me here?
Mhm.
You know, so these are a lot of questions that we need to work our way through. So I think maybe I'll send out an email in a week or two, just throwing a lot of questions at you. And you can all answer me as I find these group of questions. And Eric, I have to thank you again. Kitty's been a great help helping me find notebooks and papers, and so it's Stephanie. So I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
I'll keep working
Yeah,
at
it's
it.
great.
But, you know, while we're on this topic though, I'd like to bring up something that I've brought up before. I'd like us to discuss, which is the parking meter rates, which you found the page that explains where it
Yeah, but
currently
it's
is.
not an addendum.
I know, that's not what I'm talking about. Here's what I'm talking about. We are coming up on village meeting. We are currently at what, 13.9% increase? in
Yep.
Tax rate?
Yeah.
Right.
It is an addendum.
Robert Densmore estimated that it's approximately, if we raise the meter rates, which I was suggesting to $1.50 an hour, $1 an hour, would raise approximately $75,000, which would then have a result in terms of the tax rate, the actual tax rate being more like 3% instead of 13.9%. And I think that since the vast majority of our meter money income is from people visiting Woodstock, most of them are experiencing higher rates where they live. I think that would be a wise way for us to raise money. And in order for us to do that, we would need to warn an ordinance change, which we could do in our March meeting. We're in agreement on this. I know there's other ideas as well to raise money, but this is one I'd like us to consider to have on the agenda for March. to put out as the change. Which I think the village would benefit from, the taxpayers would benefit from.
Is it to the 150 or is it to the $1 that we're raising it?
No, to 150 from a dollar.
From $1. Got it. Yep.
From $1 to $1.50. Robert estimated that as about almost $75,000 additional income, which would lower the effect of the tax effectively to 3 point.
First thing, Seaton's not here, and she has an opinion on this.
That's fine. You know what? There's 4 of us here. I'm simply talking about putting this on the agenda for next month.
Okay, I'm just gonna say, I don't think we're there yet. I think we need to work our way.
What, in what way? Because this is
'Cause
separate.
we're always fixing little single pieces of things.
This is something to do with something that's coming up.
But
That
do you know
affects the
the
village.
public is gonna be acceptable of this. We haven't even
The public would have the right to say no to this as it does to any ordinance change. But there's a 60-day waiting period after we propose it. But if we don't propose it, if we don't do anything to try to raise income for this village, we're kind of spinning our wheels and we're just going to continue to have these high rates.
I just don't think we're ready yet. I think that maybe we next month bring it up and talk about it, but I'm uncomfortable that Seaton's not here. And I know it's only 4 people in 5, but she is not here. And I'm gonna be through this stuff much farther along.
I'm not talking about the rest of what you're doing. I'm pulling one item from here. Not about, I think what you're doing is really important and I'm not rushing that. But I think we can still make decisions to say, let's move forward with something and we can vote on it. You can vote no. I want it to be on March agenda. Do you object to that?
Yes. I think I'd rather just write the whole thing. It's only gonna take a month or 2 to rewrite it, but we keep doing these little tiny things and we really need to sit down. If we're gonna do rate changes, then we need to do everything. We need to do not handicapped. We need to do the fees for the marking meter holidays, and we need to do the fees for.
This is
do it
part
all.
A, part A, that can be part B.
I'm against it. I'm just telling you right now. So I'm against it. I think it's not being thought out clearly. I think we need to have a little more time to have this discussion. You know, if we don't raise money for revenue a month from now, okay. But, you know, right now we have so much on our plate. And I just don't think this is going to be as well received as everyone thinks it is. They think people in town are not, and then you have also now your 10 to 5. You're going to go to 10 to 4.
Well, that's what I would propose. I'm saying that part of the discussion is for village people and townspeople, that we roll it back to 10 to 4. That gives them an hour towards the end of the day when there's no fee. If we implement it, I would not recommend doing that if we don't implement the increase of 50 cents an hour. But I think it's an easy target to move forward. And if there's a tremendous resistance to it, the ordinance won't go through. It's not our decision if the whole village is against it. I don't think they will be.
I know your stand on this, Jeffrey. I know how you feel, but I'm going to say I don't want to do this. And however anyone else feels, that's up to them. So
I'd like to see it on the agenda for next month. Brenda?
I agree.
Frank, how do you feel about putting it on the agenda?
Put on the agenda, yeah.
Okay. All right, well, we'll do that and see if we can make progress and see where we end up. Okay, moving along. Paid police details.
that's just, we're talking about, that was my questions when I was asking permit. Because we want to know who's paying and who's not paying for police, how much are they paying? You know, if they're using something for, you know, we have to have this discussion where 30-minute parade is one thing, a 4-hour sampled wassail is another thing, the expense. So we have to, and Eric and I were just talking a little bit, and, you know, how we want to go forward with this is, you know, but, you know, we are, like I said, the same thing, we are spending money on police, and this is another way to
Be a revenue center.
a revenue center, you know, so
I was building a restaurant in Jersey City, New Jersey, for example, you would have to hire police to block the sidewalk and move traffic, cars and pedestrians. And it was overtime for them, but it went to the bottom line to the police department.
Makes perfect sense that we get this handled
Yep, I agree.
so that it's.
Because we're coming up next month is a lot of the more expensive permits. So we really need to have this down, how we're gonna do this, because I don't think, we don't need to pay these fees out of the necessity of, and I'm not sure, Eric, what your thoughts are on these, but eats a lot of our budget.
Yeah, so I mean, some of these, Wausau's a good example is it's all hands on deck, so it's all dispatchers, it's all police officers, admin staff, all getting overtime, so you're paying time and a half for them, so you're talking about, $40 to $60, where a contract fee is gonna be $75, $50 goes to the officer, $25 comes internally for admin fees. So it would help kind of offset the cost. We're not paying taxpayer dollars for a detail for an event. I think the biggest thing is we haven't always done this, so what the rules would be and who has to pay, who doesn't have to pay, and then we stick to that plan, whatever it is. I think Pride paid $900 for the detail, so Wausau's probably gonna pay something similar. So does the chamber have the money to do that, and so on and so forth?
I mean, I think it's the amount of time and the amount of space is what we need to, do we say anything less than an hour is on us? Do we, Covered Bridge and Jack, they all pay, so I'm glad to hear.
It's also, can you get an officer to come in to do an hour of detail work and nothing else?
We have 4 hours, don't we?
If that's like forced overtime, it's a little different, but it depends on if you consider overtime, there are rules you have to follow, union contract, but it's contract, it's a little bit different, but it might be hard to have someone come in that was 45 minutes away for an hour and a half of work. They may not want to do it.
All right,
So that is it on that.
okay. Let's move along. At this point, I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session under 113. Okay. And we will go to all those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
Motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on. Is there any other business to come before the board this evening? Hearing none, let's move on to approval of minutes.
Jeffrey.
January 13th and 14th. Where are the most confusing packet ever? Here we go. That's
Aren't they at the end of one, the end of this one?
the end of this one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so January 13th. I found nothing under January 13th. Does anyone else have a correction? January 13th?
Nope.
January 14th. I do have one suggestion that maybe Kitty could answer. On the last page of that one, where it says, the trustee asked about the town report and the budget for printing. And then the trustee discussed the tree fund.
I'm guessing part of the trustees, because I think that there were a few questions on the town report.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did she mean to have an S on that?
I'm assuming, yeah, 'cause I think on both of these, there were numerous board members who were asking about the tree fund and
Yes,
report and
right,
budget,
that's my memory too. So that's the only thing I found. I would ask that be turned into from trustee to the trustees. Those two cases, and other than that, I found no other errors. Or suggestions. So, is there a motion to approve the minutes with that one change?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of, what are the dates?
January 13th and January 14th, changes on January 14th.
January 13th, January 14th with the change on January 14th.
Second?
Second.
Second by Brenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion to adjourn?
I second the motion to adjourn.
Okay, I guess I made it.
You guys never let me do that.
All those in favor? Aye. We adjourn at, motion to adjourn
Holy
accepted
smokes.
at 8:12 or 8.
I think we need to bring this to Cheaton's attention.